Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in today. And as a part of today's session, we'll see how to execute and how to perform the project execution with Tableau. Now, the agenda for today's session goes like this. We'll start by understanding the Tableau, how it is used. And then this is followed by understanding the major features of Tableau, how to install the Tableau desktop, and as we progress, we'll also look into an hands-on session as well as like to get an overall perspective as how you can get the bit, how you can actually perform the data analysis using Tableau software. So let's get started and let's understand about this Tableau. So this Tableau is a powerful, secure, flexible end-to-end analytics platform which has been designed for data. So this Tableau software is actually designed for an individual, and the best part is it can be scaled to an enterprise level as well. Now this Tableau is one of the, I could say, like it's an only BI platform, that is the business intelligence platform, that turns the data into the insights which drive the action. So when I say data, data is nothing but the collection of information. Now when we say insight, from the data set, that is from the information, we want to generate the actionable action plan from the given data. That's where we say it as an insight. Now if I have this Tableau, so we have various tools that are available inside this Tableau. So we can prepare the data using Tableau Prep. We can analyze the data using Tableau's desktop, which we'll be doing as part of our hands-on learning activity. And at the end, once we are done with the analysis on our Tableau desktop, we can share the insights with the Tableau server, or by posting online, we can create it as a static web page where users can just go ahead and understand the insights over there, or we can make sure that it is posted on our mobile app so that the end users can log in and they can understand and they can get to know more about the insight. Okay, so this is about a Tableau. So if I want to give more information about this Tableau, the reason that actually like prefer to use this Tableau, because one, it's because of its wide range of community support. So Tableau has lot of number of users, and with the help of this community, we can get to know about what are the best practices and how we can get the best out of this Tableau software. And since this active community, since we have this community which is very active, so the users are supportive to each other. Now let's say as a beginner, you are getting stuck in one of the some function where you're trying to aggregate the data or something. So obviously in that scenario, you can take the help of community and get your queries resolved. And when we talk about this Tableau, so Tableau has went through a lot of iterations when it comes to their version. The reason of their innovation of around this Tableau software was their innovation was customer focused. So like if you see a version which was 2 years before, and if you compare with the version which is currently running, so you will see a lot of functionalities that has been added to the Tableau, and most importantly, all those functionalities are very useful, and it actually makes the life of the end users very simple. And because of this, so the customers or the end users can spend more data and they can spend more time on the data analysis rather than spending the data on like data manipulation. Okay, and another best part about this Tableau is like it has a most intuitive user experience. So when you open any Tableau, at least I'll show you at the end. So once the installation is complete, when you open that software, you'll get to know that if in case you want to ask some question on your data, it's very intuitive. It's simple drag and drop feature and various ways of creation of plot. It actually makes the learning easier and fun process, and it is going to enable the user with limitless possibilities when it comes to data exploration without interrupting the flow of analysis. And because of this advantage, so I can say that if I'm using a Tableau in my organization, so here it is going to enable the analytics for everyone. So the best part about this Tableau licensing is, so we have something called as role-based licensing. So depending on the types of users that we have, the companies can actually get as many number of licenses on the basis of user role. So this will help them to optimize the cost as well. And along with another main thing is, since we are enabling the users to get the most out of the data set, so more people will be able to contribute in the growth of the business. So because of all these reasons, so as a business or a companies prefer to use this Tableau software. And if I want to give you an overall perspective about this Tableau architecture, this is how it would look like. We have the list of data sources. So I can have the data sources. I can have a data from the multiple sources as well. It could be SAP or it could be Teradata, SQL Server, MySQL. So all I can load the data from various server or the data sources. And on this data sources, I can extract and I can perform the transformation, or I can directly generate the reports by consuming the live data. So, and the best part is by consuming the data, I can publish it as a workbook where it can be used by Tableau readers, or I can create it as a static plot and I can share it as a report at the end of the day, or I can post it on the Tableau server where multiple users can just consume these reports. And the best part is Tableau has a great security and it has a lot of functionalities which will enable us to extract the information, derive the insight, and share those insights as well. This is the key architecture when it comes to Tableau. Now let's look at some of the important features of Tableau. So as I mentioned earlier, so some of the important features of Tableau are: one, it provides great data visualization. So because of the very simplicity approach and the very intuitive by a front-end design that we have, so the end users can perform the data visualization in a much more intuitive manner. We just have to specify the data source, and once we specify the data source, so we can automatically create the visualization on the type of data that we are working with. And this Tableau has great customer support as well as community support. And it has a very intuitive user experience, or the intuitive way of giving the input. And as a result of this, we can implement it in a much more faster rate. And when it comes to data source, I can integrate from variety of sources. Now, please remember, if I'm using an enterprise, that is the paid version, then I have a lot of flexibility when it comes to specifying the data source. But whenever we are working with a free version, which what we'll be doing in our learning journey, so we have some limitation, but that limitation will not stop us from learning how to work with this Tableau software. So to name a few limitation, I cannot connect with the other extensions, Python extensions, if I'm using a free version, and I cannot connect it to a specific database like an AWS or a GCP. And there are limitation on number of rows that I can load, but it's still fine. We can explore the important features that are available in Tableau using the public version itself. And it has a rich mobile support, and it has a very great community when it comes to Tableau software. So now that you have understood the importance of Tableau, let's see how we can install this Tableau desktop. Now to install this Tableau desktop, so you just have to go to the URL public.tableau.com. Okay, so go to this website public.tableau.com, enter the official email address, and click on the download the app button, and then perform the installation by following the normal steps. Okay, now you'll go ahead and do the installation step. Okay, and once you complete the installation, you just have to double click it to start the same. So team, once you download the Tableau and install it and double click to open it, so this is how the Tableau public version looks like. Now to get started, as I mentioned, you have to download the data, and once you download the data, you have to load the data. The data that I have asked you to load is present is present in the GitHub repository, and I'll show you how you can actually load the same. To load the data, the thing that you have to do is you have to click on File, Open, and from here I'll just go ahead and open the file that is FDI case study. Okay, so this is the Excel file that we are going to load. Now once I double click it, so we have to wait for a few seconds. The data will get loaded, and in my Excel sheet there are two files, like there are two sheets. One is called as analytics question, and the another one is actually called as a data. Okay, I'll just double click on the data. So I think it's the data is still loading. Okay, once I double click on the data, these are the various fields that we have on this data set. So we have a column called sector, and we have the year date that is mentioned over here, and we have the various sector names in this table. And along with that, so here it also talks about what is the data type that has been identified, and F1, F2, F3, F4, these are being identified as features. Features are nothing but the columns in the given data. Okay, and if I come down, it tells me as how many number of amount that has been invested on this FDI. So FDI is nothing but foreign direct investment. Okay, so let me just give you some more information on this. So we have the information about foreign direct investment. Direct investment is nothing but how many number of amount that is allowed for each sector. I mean, what foreign countries can investing in a specific country. Okay. Now, one thing that we can observe in the loaded data is the data is not properly formatted. Now, because there is something called search, there is show entries, complete view of data. So these are the blank rows that we have. And the column names doesn't make sense. Now I can go ahead and do this manual activity, do the manual formatting from my end in the Excel sheet and then load the data again. But instead, I can directly go ahead and use the option in my Tableau that's called as data interpreter and select this data interpreter. Now, once I do it, it is going to interpret my data in a better way. So currently it is processing the request. Okay, it has processed the request and it has now loaded the data in a right format. See the sector, years. So I now have the data in a right format, and even like it has been identified. Okay, what is the type of value that it belongs. Okay, now if I come down, we also have a row that's called as grand total. Well, this grand total, it gives me the overall total value for each year. Now here in this scenario, I want to do the analysis. Now if I keep this row as it is, in that scenario, I may not get the right information out of this data because this is like an aggregation that it is trying to give me, and we can do those similar kind of aggregation in our Tableau as well. So if I simply keep it like this, it's going to cause issues when I'm doing the analysis with this data set. So I'll add the filters. Now, once I click on this filters button, add, and here there's a pop-up window. On this pop-up window, I'm going to specify my data source filter, and I want to do a filter on the data column of sector. Okay, I'll just select the field of sector. Now on this pop-up, I have an option. What do I want to do? I want to exclude a grand total. So I'll just select this, and below I'm going to select as exclude. Once I press OK and OK again, so this will perform the data filtering before it loads as well. See, this is how the data has been loaded. Now, like here, this data that we have, this data is in a wide format. Okay, wide format is a very good format of data if I'm just want to look into the data and understand the same. But if I'm interested in performing some kind of analysis, so it's always recommended to have it in a pivot format. So I'll just right click. Okay, so I'll just right click and let me see. So here in this overall data that we have, so let's go ahead and create a pivot. Okay. So in order to do the pivot, the one thing that we have to do is we have to select multiple columns. So I've selected one column and I have holded the shift and I have selected the last column. Now by doing like this, I have selected multiple columns. Now I'll right click and I'm going to say it as pivot. Okay. Now I have a data in a different format right now. See, for each sector, I have it in a pivot format. I can now go ahead and do the analysis in an easier fashion. Okay, so now I can go ahead and rename the columns as well. So I can say it as this is my year and this is my amount. Okay, so this is a very simple activity that I'm doing right now. So I have performed the activity of pivot. And once I have performed this activity of pivot, I'm just renaming it as per my requirement. That's it. Now, once I have the data in this format, I can now go ahead and perform the analysis. So year and the amount. Now, in order to perform the analysis on the data, I'll have to go to a Tableau sheet. Now, Tableau sheet is a place where we are going to create the visualization on the data. So I'll click on my sheet one. Now, once I click on the sheet one, it's going to tell me what are the fields that has been loaded from the given data set. So I have sector, I have year, I have the amount, I have the data. So I have the measure. So we have the measurement names and we also have the measurement values. That means it has been identified as categorical variables and a numerical variable. Now, as I progress, I can just go ahead and proceed and start dragging the data, dragging and dropping the data so that I can perform the analysis on the given data set in an easier fashion. So here we have the option to set the rows and columns. So if I want to set any specific column as a row or a column, I can just drag and drop over there and I can perform the analysis. Okay, so I've got a question as what are measure names and measure values. So measure names and measure values, it actually represents the above one represents the categorical data and the below one represents the numerical data. Okay, and here measure names, it just like for the overall measurement, whether I want to mention the account and whether I want to mention perform the aggregation or whether I want to perform the grouping. So in all those things, I can drag and drop as well in case if it is required. Okay, so this is how the overall structure of my Tableau interface would look like. Now, if I observe my data source, okay, so if I come back and observe this data source, so this data source data column has been identified as a string data. Okay, so this is how the data has been loaded as a string data. Now let's do one thing. Let's perform some calculation on top of this data and we'll remove, like we'll just extract only the first 4 characters from this year column and we are going to create it as a new column over there. In order to do the same, I'll come over here. Okay, let's see if it allows or else we'll go ahead and create it from there. I'll say create and I'll create it as a calculated field. Okay, it's not allowing, that's still fine. So let me come over to my sheet one. Now here on top, there's a more option button. So I'll click on this more option button and I'm going to create it as a calculation field. And for the field, I'll say fiscal year. This is the field that I'm going to say. And here I'm going to apply the function called left. Okay, this takes in a string value. For the string value, I'll get the year column. Okay, and I want to select 4 characters from the year column and I'll press apply. Then, so once I do it, so my year column, fiscal year column will have only starting 4 characters from my column of year. So instead of saying it as 2000 to 2001, I'm saying it as fiscal year 2000. So just for the simplicity, I've just selected 4 columns, guys. So this is how you can actually select the column names as well. Now I'll go ahead and I'll hide this year column. Okay. Now, once I have done this, I can now go ahead and perform a very simple analysis. So to demonstrate the same, I'll just go ahead and drop the specific column data. Okay. So I'll drop the sector to my rows. Okay. So once I drop the sectors, it is telling me as what are the various sector names that we have in the given data. Okay, so what are the various sector names that we have on the given data? Let's say I want to find the amount has been invested on each sector. Okay, so this is just a simple tabular column. So if I want to display the amount that has been invested for each sector, so I'll drag this amount and I'll drop on top of the text. See, I now have the total sum, that is total amount that has been invested for each of the sector. Okay, so that is how easy it is to just visualize the data. Now let's say as a someone who is an investor, if I'm interested as okay in which area there is a lot of investment, which means that there's a lot of opportunity for that sector. As an investor, if I'm trying to understand that, then I'm interested in looking at from the sorting level. I mean, which are the sectors are having the high value of investment or high scope of investment. So I can just select this column, or I can just go ahead and I can select this column that's called as sorted descending. So once I specify it, see, it is going to generate me a sorted list. So for services sector, this is the amount, and for computer science and hardware, this is the amount. So in this way, I can perform the sorting and generate the data. Now, in this given data right now, so this is the analysis that I'm drawing from my entire data set, that is for all the years. Now, what if I'm interested in performing the analysis for a specific year? In such scenarios, I can make use of the filtering functionality. So I'll drag and drop the fiscal year for the filters. Now, assuming that I want the data from the latest year, I'll just select the year as 2016 and I'll apply and I'll press the OK. Once I press the OK, see, you can clearly see that the values have been changed automatically. Okay, so this is how I can perform the filtering. Now, if I'm interested in selecting the top 5 sector, so I've selected the sector and have placed it on the filter. Now I'll select as top by field, I'll say top 5. Okay, and maximum amount is the maximum. So once I press OK, see, I have the top 5 sectors for the year of 2016. Okay, so the approach that we have actually taken in our today's learning session is called as a structured learning approach. And the same learning approach is being utilized in the certification program that we have at Edureka. Now, let's say you're someone who is interested in learning this Tableau software, and if you're very beginner, we recommend you to follow this learning approach. So let me give you how the learning approach of a structured learning would look like. So here at the first session, you'll be working with data preparation using Tableau, and post that you'll be learning how to create the connection with Tableau. And part of in module 3, you'll see how you can perform the basic visual analytics. And in module 4, you'll see how to perform the calculation in Tableau. And in module 5 and module 6, you learn about advanced visual analytics and the level of detail expressions when it comes to Tableau. In module 7, you'll see how to create a geographic visualization using Tableau software. And as you progress in your learning journey in module 8, 9, and 10, so you are going to learn some of the industry relevant topics like advanced charts in Tableau, creating the dashboards and efficiently conveying the stories that are behind the data. And by completing all these things with relevant hands-on exercises, you'll be a person who is an industry ready Tableau expert, or I can say a Tableau consultant. If you are a very beginner in Tableau, so I recommend you to follow this approach so that you will increase the chances of success in learning this Tableau. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. Thank you so much.